Okay, we're going to talk about a couple of things in Figma. Um, First of all, we're going to talk about how to set up standard style sheets, for example, like standard creating our style guides for our design so that we have consistent use of color and type and all of the elements, components that we're going to be putting in. How to use some of the tools to build our designs in Figma. So, so I'm going to start off walking us through some of that. And at any time, if you have questions, please, let me see if I can't see the, let me see if I can put the chat somewhere. Okay, I can move the chat to my screen over here. All right. So I'm on my, my Figma board, and you can see I have two watch faces here. So the first thing I've had folks ask me about is, like, for example, the Apple Watch is rounded at the edges. It's not a perfect square. So I wanted to show you how you can go ahead and do that. So here is I use the of course my frame, which is the Apple Watch 44 millimeters is what I'm using. But let's say I want my screen to be curved. I can go over here and you can see on the far right properties menu, there's my frame and there's a little curved corner radius section. I can type in, I'm going to put in 32, which is what I've been seeing people use. So I think 32 is a good place to start. And then I can go ahead and give my watch the curve that it would have as we're working. The next thing I want to do is I want to make, I have these are my branded colors. I'm determining that I want these three colors are going to be my brand or my, my design colors, my palette that I'm going to work from. And so I want to make these a style sheet so that I can pull up these colors whenever I need it. So what I'm going to do is select the color that I want. And I'm going to go over here to the properties menu. And next to the word fill, there are these these four dots, which says style. I'm going to open that up. And I've already made a library, but I'm going to just do it again just to show you. So I'm going to say a new variable or a new library. And I'm going to call it watch. I'm going to name it watch /blue. When you're naming things, whether it's a component or a style sheet, I want you to use the / in Figma. So if you have two names, like for example, this project, or you could even, call it P1 for project 1 or watch, and then the color so that it stays consistent. Okay, so now I've made a watch menu, and you can see the word watch is up on top, and then the word blue is here. Before I just had them blue, red, orange. I didn't give them a category. So watch when I do another one. I'm going to go ahead and grab my orange now. I'm going to click on my menu. I'm going to say plus, and I'm going to go watch /orange. Create variable. And actually, I'm going to do another one with the red. And I'm going to go ahead and Emily, go ahead.
Can I just ask, what's the difference between a style and a variable when you're making these colors?
There we go, red. A style and a variable. Variables are going to give you the ability to have use the same object, but with different choices. A variable is like, let's say you wanted to work on a dark background, so you might have it turn white, or you might have it highlight a different color. Does that make sense? And it might change. So when you
Kind of.
click over here on these little options, property options, we can change elements of it. I don't know why I have that there like that. There we go. We'll get into it a little bit more in a little bit for sure.
Okay.
Okay. Here is the, so I have all the colors. You can see the watch selection colors are all now all saved. I'm going to look at now bringing in and designing one of my watch faces. So I'm going to start another frame, watch 44. Oops, I'm going to move that over here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is kind of recreate this guy I put here. Oh, I forgot I already put one there. You know, I'm going to delete that one. I forgot I had put one here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and here is my watch. I'm going to go ahead. I already have the 32 on this frame radius put in. I'm going to choose a color. I'm going to go down here to fill. I'm going to choose my blue. And I'm going to choose gradation. And I want to go blue on one side. And on this side, I want to go like a very dark blue, maybe black. Okay. Oops. And on this side, I have go a little brighter. So I have put in this gradation. Okay. And now I'm going to add a shape in. So I'm going to go ahead and add a rectangle in. I've selected my frame and I'm going to start drawing a rectangle in so that it goes all the way to the edges. And for this one, I'm going to use another blue gradation, this time going to white. Okay. Now I have a shape sitting inside. Sorry about that. All right, and then I'm going to go up here to the pen tool. I'm going to select the pen tool. And this is where I can manipulate that shape. I don't have to, I gotta make sure it's selected. Oh, make sure it's selected, okay. All right, now I'm selected. Come on, I can play with the curves, but I don't want to do that. I want to just add another point with the pen tool. Why isn't it not letting me do that? Oh, I don't think so. Sorry, guys. Let me just try to figure out what is going on, why it's not letting me add. My control. Hmm. Okay, so we discovered, I gotta move the Zoom thing. It's totally in my way. Get that over there. Okay, so what we were not doing is turning on the edit object um, at the top menu bar. And so now that we've done that, we can pull down um, this object and I can make this point. Well, let's say I'm like, no, I actually want it to be curvy. So again, I can go in and I can add a corner radius to this object. I can adjust it with there I put a 30. I can say like a 50 or I want 100. You know, I can make it any way I want to get the look I want. I can also go back in and adjust, you know, the adjust this if I wanted to go down a little bit more as well. So now I'm going to say I want to put in you know, my dog, my avatar. So I'm going to click off of that and I'm going to go back up to the circles here and go with our lips. Oops, what did I grab? Grab the wrong thing. Lips. Okay. So the kind of cool thing, the way Figma shares when you fill an object. So here's my object, and I want to put Obi in there. So I'm going to take the object, and I'm going to go to fill. So you might, one of the things that's a, you got to rethink about coming from Illustrator is with Illustrator, we would place an object inside, right? We would place an object. Here, you either are going to fill an object with a color or an image. So you're just going to go over here, you're going to click on it, you're going to go to fill. And on the top menu bar, you can either fill with solid color, with a gradation, or with a picture. So I'm going to say picture, choose image. And I'm going to go grab a picture of Obi and pop it in. So now I have my picture of Obi. I can also go in here and edit that image. It allows me to, you know, use editing tools right in here if I wanted to. So that's a possibility too. You can also rotate it, which I think is super handy if you need to. So that's another nice feature. You can also, just for you to know, is put a video in. So there's a video option here too. So keep that in mind. There's also blend modes, just like Illustrator. So you guys, these are the same Illustrator, the same blend modes that we have in Illustrator. So I could make it be a color burn, a multiply, a darken, lighten. You know, we could do, ooh, that's kind of creepy. So anyway, so we can do any of these things to poor little Obi. Or we can leave them normal. Okay, so those are all available to you, which are familiar to you from Illustrator. And so the ones I have that I can say, okay, now I can also add a stroke. I want to put a nice bold outline on my design. I want it to be one of my blue that I'm using. And I can also choose, just like Illustrator, if I want my line to be inside, center, or outside. I'm gonna make it outside. So all of those, you know, kind of things are available to us. I'm going to add some text to my screen. And so I'm going to grab the type tool, which is up here in the top. I'm going to select it in. I want caps. Oh, where did my O go? This is Obi Decker. We spell it the Star Wars way. That's why it's OBI. If we go with his full name, it'll be that. And the thing that's nice about Figma is you can see it's aligning things for me right away. It's telling me, okay, here's where I'd put it centered. It's helping me know where to put things, which I think is super, super handy. Now, I want to go ahead and adjust the type. So I can go into the text and it's, you can choose. Now, a key thing to be aware of, you want to make sure you have Figma, the app on your computer, because this is what's going to give you all of the typefaces. If you use the browser, you're not going to have as many typefaces to choose from, and you won't be able to update the typefaces. So I recommend having the app. It's really good, and using the app as you're working. So I'm going to use Poppins. Uh, Oops, I don't want to stroke on it. Where's my type? Okay, and I can choose, if I want it to be bold, or extra black, or light, whenever I decide. And then I think about my type size. Well, 12 is too small, really, for most things. We want to try to be, we are working on the watch, so I think things can be a little bit fudged, but in my experience, the lowest size we probably want to go is 14. Digital, and 16 is probably preferred. Just depends on what it is we're doing. I'm going to go with 16, and then I am going to make a style sheet for my type. And so I'm going to click on these 4 dots. It says style when I hover over it. And you can see I've already made some type style sheets. And so these are going to be, this one I'm going to do, what have I done so far? I'm going to say name. I'm going to maybe for this one, I've been kind of going large, medium, small, extra small. I'm going to go small reg, small/reg. Okay. And so then I have, a couple choices. So this is a few ways to kind of think about building and some of the things to be aware of when you're building in Figma versus Illustrator. There are going to be some things that are remarkably similar, and then there's going to be some things that will confuse you. And I want to make sure that you all have, start kind of really building these in here. So what we're going to be doing is starting to create these styles. So what I recommend is to create a new frame and call it styles, and let's start putting your styles that you're building on it so you have a place to organize them. So as you're kind of putting these things together, say, okay, and I just took, I just went up here and made a circle and, drew circles for all the colors, and then took each color and created a style for it. And then the same thing for type. So type, you can see I have a style sheet for large type. My text styles, I have large type, medium, small, and extra small. So I have large type, medium, and I'm going to just make a copy of this and change it out to show you what I mean. Again, I'm just holding Alt Option to make copies. I'm going to double click and select my medium text, go over to text, and change this one now to small. And I'm going to rename it small. Copy that, bring it down, select it, go back over to my text, and I made an extra small one. I'm going to rename this extra small so that I now have chosen my type. I can also at the same time, think about like what colors are my type, if they're all going to be black, or are they going to be in my colors, those kinds of things you can start thinking about too. And putting basically just a frame together that is, mine a little bigger, that is carrying all of your style sheets. I'm gonna pause here for a second. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. All right, let's talk about components. Components are the next thing that I wanted to talk about, because these are what works very differently than what you've used before. So the way a component works is you're going to have one master component, and then you're going to have many instances of that component. So let's show what I mean. So let's say I've decided I'm going to add a calendar. I'm going to just do a calendar on this page. So first off, I'm going to select my frame, and I'm going to grab a rectangle. I'm going to measure, not an ellipse, a rectangle. Okay. Now I'm going to make a little component that's going to be for each day of the week. There's 7 days of the week. I wanted to go completely across my screen. Nice thing that Figma does is it'll do the math for you. So if I go back up to my properties menu here, it says 184. I'm going to divide it by 7, hit OK, and now it's made 1/7 of a rectangle for me. So I know exactly what size my day of the week needs to be if I want 7 going all the way across. So I'm going to pull that out over here. And I'm now going to make a day of the week calendar card. So I'm going to grab the text box. I'm going to select type. I'm going to get the text down. This is where I might go down to 14. I want to choose my type to be centered, and then I want to pull out my box so that whenever this type changes, it stays within this calendar box. You got to think about all the different instances. I'm going through Monday through Friday. The letter forms are going to change, and I want to make sure that they stay centered in my box. So I'm going to make sure that my type is centered. I'm then going to grab another type tool. Oh, sorry, down here. And I'm going to make it the date. Excuse me. Again, I'm going to make sure it's centered. I'm going to make the box the size of my calendar box. Here I'm going to, excuse me, change the weight to be a little heavier. And I think here I'm going to make this one a little lighter. So I have some contrast. So here's my calendar for Monday, my calendar box for Monday. So I'm going to make one of these for every day of the week rather than just making a copy and like remaking this. I'm actually going to make this into a component. So up here on the top is the middle of see, this bar at the top with the middle symbol is create component. That's the four little diamonds. And so once I do that, it's made this now a component. So I'm going to call it day of the week. That's the name of my component. And you can see it over here. These guys are not attached, so I want to make sure they're in. It's way up here. I want to bring that into my component. They actually went way over. So we want to have them nested in the component. So you'll notice that I'm checking to make sure that my day and the month, the day of the week and the date are all in the component on the left here. So now you can see day of the week, number 15, MO, and the rectangle. They're all nested inside this day of the week. That's very important. So you want to double check that and make sure that's happening for you. Okay, so once that's happening, you can now make instances. So like I showed you in this little design, little chart here, now that I have my master, I can make copies, as many copies as I want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my Option or Alt key and make a copy. And I want you to see on the left here, the copy is just a single diamond where the instance the instance is a single diamond and the master component is 4 diamonds. That's how you know which one is the master and which one is the instance. So I'm going to bring the instance over here to my design. And I'm going to keep copying it. I'm going to go Option. I'm holding my Shift key down because I want to keep them all aligned. 4. Oops. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I think I have them all here. 6, 7. Okay. Nope, that looks like it can move over a little bit. Okay. 4, 5, 6. All right. So here's my 7 days. So now I've made my instances. These are all instances. So a couple things. Once I have an instance, I can make a change to it. So for example, excuse me, let's say I'm like, I don't want the background to be gray. I can go over here to colors, make the background. Oh, I made the type blue. I didn't mean to think I was talking about the gray background. There we go. The background, I want to make it blue. So I can make it blue and it's going to affect everything. I can say then, okay, I don't want the type black. I want the type to be white. It'll change all of it. Now here's the other cool thing. Obviously, I don't want them all to be Monday. So I can go in and make my changes. And I can also change the days of the week. We're obviously going to have different days of the week. Okay, now I can still go in here and keep making changes. And even though I've changed all those details, they're still going to change accordingly.
If you
Okay,
change
so
Sorry, if you
Mhm.
change the text
The text.
again and the master, is it going to reset all of the variations?
No. So like, you mean if I change the color or something or the typeface or
If
something?
you delete MO and type in TU, will it change all of the derivatives to TU? Oh,
Just that
only the
first one.
first one?
Mhm. Just the first one. Because that's the one I
Okay.
didn't change. I changed all of those.
Oh,
Right.
I
So the
see.
right. So like if I change that, it's just changing that first one. It's not going to change all of the ones I've changed. It's mainly going to change the style. So like let's say if I go to Poppins and say I don't want Poppins, I want it to be this other typeface. Look, it just changed them all instantly. So it's really more for things like changing the typeface, changing the color, those kinds of things. And then there's another thing we can think about is like, let's say, you know what? I don't want any fill or let me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now I have no fill. And what I want to do then is like when it's that day, let's say it's Friday. What's Thursday? Today's Thursday. Let's do Thursday. It's Thursday. I want it to fill on a specific day of the week. So then I can highlight in my, like that's going to be my highlight state. I can make my highlight state be just the one day and it's not going to affect the others. Let me go back. So a couple things we can and can't do. Those are good questions, Ellie. So here's some of the things. I have a couple slides about it. So you cannot override. So the override is me changing the information, right? So that the days of the week and the dates. I cannot override size, position, rotation, constraints, layer hierarchy, and point and Bezier positions. Things we can do in the instances is change the color and fill, the text content and alignment, styles, opacity, effects, drop shadows, blurs, visibility, show and hide. Those are all things you can. Okay. And so regarding you have your master, all your instances, these are all the things you can do with your instances. These are the things you cannot. All right, I'm going to pause here.